A blind man could have saw what y'all was trying to do to Shedeur Sanders. But I feel like somebody, hey Jimmy, come on, you owe us one, man. I know you want to keep Kenny Pickett. I know y'all really like him. Hey, Kevin Stefanski, we know you really like Kenny Pickett. But right now with Kurt Warner coming out, right now with Shannon Sharp coming out, right now with Derek Carr coming out, with the Kansas City Chiefs offensive lineman coming out, and other NFL players who playing currently in the NFL coming out, you couldn't keep Kenny Pickett after he hasn't played since July. Dog, you wanted to, but you couldn't. Because the storm was brewing. The storm was brewing. Yeah, TV numbers would have went down. Your jersey sales would have went down. It would have been hell to pay for the Cleveland Browns if they would have kept Kenny Pickett and would have kept Shedeur Sanders listed fourth on the depth chart. It would have been hell to pay. So the Cleveland Browns, once again, let me give you one more last clap for doing what the hell is right. Because if you wouldn't have done what was right, we would have been on you like white on rice. Because like I said, a blind man could have saw what you was trying to do to Shedeur Sanders. Kevin Stefanski, you ain't slick.
Hey, we live now, really.
Without further ado, welcome back. I appreciate y'all tuning in. I appreciate you always coming back and showing your boys some love. You understand me? But hey, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. You know, I love that we back. I love that I'm here with y'all, my beautiful people. I missed you. All right, without further ado, hold on. Before we start, I need you to do me one favor. Please do me one favor. All right. Send this to your mama, your daddy, your best friend, friend of another friend, little sister, little Johnny, little Timmy, and don't forget about little Susie because she stay down the street. So you got to make sure you send this to her. And you got to make sure she get it so that way she can tune in too. But send this to everybody. All right. But without further ado, hey, you read the title. You see what we finna be cooking with today. All right. So to make a long story short, to keep it short, simple, and sweet, we got to go ahead and hit on Shedeur Sanders and what's been going on. All right. I was going to come on here. I'm not going to lie to you. Before I just got the news that I got to my phone about Kenny Pickett being traded to the Las Vegas Raiders for a fifth-round pick, I was finna come on here and light them boys up again. I was finna go ahead and sing like a canary. I was finna go ahead and step on my step note, and I was finna go crazy. You feel me? I was finna hop on my soapbox right now, and I was finna go in on the Cleveland Browns. But it's okay because I'm going to go in on the Cleveland Browns still because they think they slick. But I'm gonna keep it gracious today. You feel me? I'm going to go in, but I'm only going to go in a little bit. You got to understand, man. The Cleveland Browns have actually did what they were supposed to do. They traded Kenny Pickett. Yes, the Cleveland Browns. The news has just came down upon us. The Cleveland Browns have traded Kenny Pickett to the Las Vegas Raiders. Wow. If I can I get an amen? Can I get a I was not expecting that? Because you got to understand the reason why I wasn't expecting that, man. I really thought they was gonna double down. I really thought that they was gonna play in front of our face and let us believe that they was gonna keep a quarterback who hasn't played in weeks, damn near a month, Kenny Pickett, who failed at his first stop. Yes, he was a first-round pick, but he failed when he played for the Steelers. Then he got cut and released by the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, he was a backup. Yeah, he played in the Super Bowl, but he caught the snap and just took a knee. So, yeah, he got a ring, a Super Bowl ring, but did he really contribute to it? Maybe a little bit. He's a backup quarterback. I can't take that away from him. But regardless of anything, I cannot believe that they actually traded that man. I can't believe it. Like, seriously, I cannot believe that they actually traded Kenny Pickett. Like, I'm kind of in shock because I wasn't expecting them to do the right thing. I was not expecting the Cleveland Browns to do the right thing. But clearly, and I want to attest a few people for this. I think they heard us, man. I think they heard Shannon Sharp, Ocho Cinco. You feel me? Hoochman. I can't say his last name. And then I think they heard, you feel me? Skip Bayless. I think they heard, you feel me? Kurt Warner, a Hall of Fame quarterback. I think they heard Derek Carr, an NFL quarterback who's been playing for years. Because it was multiple quarterbacks who played in the NFL who called the NFL out on their BS. Called the Cleveland Browns and Kevin Stefanski out on their BS. It was multiple NFL quarterbacks, including the Hall of Famer, Kurt Warner. I'm sorry, I'm a little excited, y'all. Kurt Warner, the Hall of Famer, called them out as well. And this is what I was going to lead with today, so I might as well, since I'm on it, let's talk about it. All right, before we hop on, my shock factor of Kenny Pickett getting traded, before we hop on what I was going to say originally when I hop on here, let's just go ahead and talk about this. And this is coming from a Hall of Fame quarterback who, once again, is a Hall of Fame quarterback who didn't let his eyes deceive him. Just like we didn't let our eyes deceive us. You understand what I'm saying? So without further ado, let's talk about it. Because you got to really understand that this is kind of crazy. This is kind of a little shocking. You feel me? Because Kurt Warner, a Hall of Fame quarterback, had this to say. I was really looking forward to the competition between Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. In the last preseason game, I know it plays out like this sometimes, but a bummer that both didn't have the same ops, aka opportunity, to make plays. Dillon Gabriel played well again, but had good opportunities to make plays. Shedeur Sanders didn't have those same opportunities, so it was hard to make a much needed assessment. And I kind of paraphrased a little bit and kind of summed it up. But essentially, he said what we all said. Like, at the end of the day, we clearly saw with our own two eyes that Shedeur Sanders went out there with PE teachers. We clearly saw with our own eyes that Shedeur Sanders went out there with guys who essentially, like I said, if you want to look at my previous live, if you want to look at my previous video, I called it right. And I called it right down the middle. Because guess what ended up happening? Snoop Huntley, he was released, literally, I want to say not even 24 hours after that game. Snoop Huntley, when he went in there for that 2-minute draft, I guess, Kevin Stefanski, let's give it to him. Even though he a 5-year vet, even though he played for the Baltimore Ravens for like 3 seasons, even though he played and started in a playoff game, he still wanted to give him that 2-minute draft. But no, Kevin Stefanski, you ain't slick, baby. You ain't slick. Just because y'all traded Kenny Pickett, and it seems like y'all doing the right thing, you ain't getting from under this. Don't get me wrong. I wholeheartedly and I appreciate the fact that the Cleveland Browns actually look like they want to win for a change. The Cleveland Browns actually look like they heard us. The Cleveland Browns actually did what the heck was right. Like, the Cleveland Browns doing what's right for a change. The Cleveland Browns actually looking like they want to win. The Cleveland Browns actually giving the people what they want and hearing the outcry. Because guess what? The NFL, they couldn't have it. ESPN, Stephen A. Smith, your Uncle Tom. Ryan Clark, your Uncle Tom. Yeah, I'm calling y'all out. Dan Orlowski, your Uncle Tom. Even though you ain't no Uncle Tom, because you rightfully so. You've been standing on your 10 toes. You don't like Shedeur, and we see it. But I was watching ESPN today, and I know I'm getting off topic a little bit, but I'm gonna swing back around. But I was watching ESPN today, and they had the nerve to get on there and pretend like we didn't see what we saw. They had the nerve to talk about Shedeur Sanders taking a 24-yard sack and taking another bad sack when he could have hit a man over across the middle. They had talked about 2 sacks that Shedeur Sanders had that was really like very bad plays. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, Shedeur Sanders played bad in his last preseason game. Don't get it twisted. Shedeur Sanders had a bad day in the office. And we understand that. We get that. But you have to understand that, dog, with him playing bad, you still should have gave him an opportunity to go out there with that 2-minute drill, especially if you wanted to develop your quarterback, especially if you wanted to see what he really had to do in that situation after being pummeled, after being sacked, after having a not
a great outing. You still should have gave him the dignity to go out there and show what he had to do. Well, show what he was capable of doing, excuse me. You still should have gave him the opportunity. But it's okay that you didn't, because now you exposed. It's okay that you didn't, because now the Cleveland Browns, just because you traded Kenny Pickett, we ain't forget, it just happened on Saturday. Kevin Stefanski, you ain't slick. Roger Goodell, and probably some of them other NFL owners, they really paying attention to what we're doing. Yeah. We got to stop this. We can't let them think that we really sabotaging him. We already, we didn't draft him in the first round, the second round, the third round, or the fourth round. We took him in the fifth round when he was a first round pick. All right, so I think everybody's kind of catching on to what we're doing. We got to kind of put a stop to this. So Cleveland, what the hell is his name? I can't think of the owner. Jimmy Haslam. Jimmy, you got to trade Kenny Pickett. All right, because guess what? In the NFL, the best ability is availability. Kenny Pickett hasn't thrown a ball since July, and y'all was gonna keep him on y'all team. Y'all was gonna keep him, but you heard the people. It's so beautiful. You heard us. You heard a Hall of Fame quarterback in Kurt Warner come out and speak out. You heard Derek Carr come out and speak out. You heard a couple NFL players, even a player who plays for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, an offensive lineman, came out and called the NFL out on their BS. NFL players who play in the league currently and former NFL players, Hall of Famers like Shannon Sharp, Ocho Cinco, they came out and they spoke up for Shedeur Sanders, just like me. They spoke up for that guy, and you couldn't deny it. Because if you would have kept Kenny Pickett like you really wanted to, boy, it would have been hell to pay. It would have been hell to pay. So, hey, Cleveland. The Cleveland Browns, wow. They actually did something right for a change. It's refreshing. Don't get me wrong, Cleveland. You still got 4 quarterbacks on your roster. But you didn't tell us which 4 quarterbacks you was going to keep. We knew you was going to keep 4 quarterbacks on the roster. You can't get rid of Deshaun. Deshaun, he just in no man's land, living his best life, collecting that 230 M's I gave him. So Deshaun Watson, we knew you wasn't gonna do nothing with him. You can't trade him. You can't do nothing with him. So he a quarterback on the roster, but obviously he inactive and he's on the injured reserve. So you still gotta pay him. He's still sitting over there chilling. But if you would have decided to keep Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, and Kenny Pickett in front of Shedeur Sanders, 4 quarterbacks. Because you got to understand, 4 quarterbacks, that's a rarity in the NFL. You want to know how rare it is? Let me give you a couple facts and statistics. Only 5 teams since 2013, 5 teams in the NFL since 2013 have kept 4 quarterbacks on a 53-man roster to start the NFL season. Washington did it in 2013 when they had RG3 and Kirk Cousins taken in the same draft. They did it. I can't think of who was that starting quarterback that year, but they had 2 rookies, right? And they had 4 quarterbacks total, so they did it. The Jets in 2016 and 2020, they kept 4 quarterbacks. The Miami Dolphins in 2018, they kept 4 quarterbacks. And then the Saints in 2021, they kept 4 quarterbacks. So keeping 4 quarterbacks on your roster in the NFL, it's a rare thing to do. In Cleveland, what you did was too obvious. What you did was finna have the whole NFL in an uproar. So you did what was right. The Cleveland Browns, kudos to you for actually doing what's right for a change. Thank you. We appreciate you. Because you heard me. You heard Ocho Cinco. You heard everybody. You heard us. Because if you didn't hear us, it would have been hell to pay. A blind man could have saw what y'all was trying to do to Shedeur Sanders. But I feel like somebody, hey, Jimmy, Jimmy, come on, you owe us one, man. I know you want to keep Kenny Pickett. I know y'all really like him. Hey, Kevin Stefanski, we know you really like Kenny Pickett. But right now with Kurt Warner coming out, right now with Shannon Sharp coming out, right now with Derek Carr coming out, with the Kansas City Chiefs offensive lineman coming out, and other NFL players who playing currently in the NFL coming out, you couldn't keep Kenny Pickett after he hasn't played since July. Dog, you wanted to, but you couldn't. Because the storm was brewing. The storm was brewing. Yeah, TV numbers would have went down. Your jersey sales would have went down. It would have been hell to pay for the Cleveland Browns if they would have kept Kenny Pickett and would have kept Shedeur Sanders listed fourth on the depth chart. It would have been hell to pay. So the Cleveland Browns, once again, let me give you one last clap for doing what the hell is right. Because if you wouldn't have done what was right, we would have been on you like white on rice. Because like I said, a blind man could have saw what you was trying to do to Shedeur Sanders. Kevin Stefanski, you ain't slick. Yeah, you could have did Huntley. You're saying you did Huntley a solid. Huntley got in there, had one completion, and really went 70 yards because they had a penalty. So you didn't want to see your young quarterback go out there, even though your young quarterback, that could have been possibly his last snap of the whole season. You wanted us to have that bitter taste in our mouth from seeing Shedeur Sanders take those bad sacks, have such a horrible day. But it's okay, because hindsight is now 2020. So Kevin Stefanski, Jimmy Haslam, you made up for your mistake that you was about to make. But we ain't blind because we saw what you was trying to do. So don't think you're slick. We saw what you were trying to do, Cleveland. But we appreciate you doing what's right. So Shedeur Sanders. Hey, keep cooking, baby. Shedeur Sanders. It's time to keep powering up, my guy. Because your time will come this season. Because Sleepy Joe Flacco, we going to see his mobility not go anywhere. Sleepy Joe, we going to see. They throwing you out there to the wolves for a reason. The Cleveland Browns, first 4 games of the season. Actually, first 5 games. So if you don't know, the Cleveland Browns, first 5 games of the season. And why? I was okay with Shedeur sitting. I was totally fine with Shedeur not starting the season. Let's get that correct. Shedeur played bad, and I said that he played bad. But what happened to him was foul. And I had to call the Cleveland Browns and Kevin Stefanski out for that. So you have to understand that. I had to. Because as a man and as a black man in America, we got to stand up for ours. And Shedeur Sanders, guess what? He ours. Whether you want to agree with it or not. So understand, Cleveland Browns, thank you for doing what's right. But you had to do what's right because Kurt Warner, a Hall of Fame quarterback, came out and said something. Derek Carr, an NFL quarterback who played for years, came out and said something. An offensive lineman for the Kansas City Chiefs came out and said something about what y'all did to Shedeur Sanders. And then exactly what I said that they was going to do. They cut the 4 offensive linemen that was playing with Shedeur Sanders Saturday. They cut all of them besides 1. Every single offensive lineman that was out there playing with Shedeur Sanders got cut the very next day. Every single offensive lineman that was out there with Shedeur Sanders got cut the very next day. How? Why? Including the quarterback that went in during that 2-minute drill. He got cut as well. So if you was going to cut Snoop Huntley, and if you was going to cut those 4 other players, how come, you feel me, you couldn't at least throw Shedeur Sanders out there with maybe the same tight end he threw to in the first preseason game versus the Carolina Panthers? How come you couldn't throw Shedeur Sanders out there with at least 1 or 2 of the offensive linemen who played on a second team, a third team who he played with? But instead, you put him out there with PE teachers. But it's okay, because now, guess what? That's in the past. We don't care about that anymore. It's okay. Because now, guess what? Joe Flacco, the pressure is on you now, dog. Joe Flacco, You came in when Deshaun Watson got hurt, right? You came in when Deshaun Watson got hurt 2 years ago, and you led the Cleveland Browns to a playoff game. You led them to about 5 or 6 straight victories. Joe Flacco, a couple years ago, that was immaculate. I was rooting for you, Joe, but you didn't have any expectations, Joe Flacco. Now you got expectations, baby. Now you finna be up. The Cleveland Browns, they first 4 to 5 games. Actually, I named their first 5 games. You got the Cincinnati Bengals. You got the Baltimore Ravens. You got the Green Bay Packers. You got the Detroit Lions. You got the Minnesota Vikings. And then you got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Boy. Joe Flacco, you got expectations now, my guy. Joe Flacco, you got expectations now, my guy. We saw what happened when you had expectations last year in Indianapolis. What happened? They ain't bring you back. So Joe Flacco, since they ain't bring you back, what happened? You had expectations, didn't you, Joe? What happened with those expectations? You didn't meet those expectations, Sleepy Joe. So Sleepy Joe, you got expectations now, my guy. And I thank God that you are there because now you're the vet in the room. Joe Flacco, you're a great guy. Like, I really feel like you got a genuine heart. I really feel like you're a good, sincere person. So none of my shots, none of my Shedeur love is hate for Joe Flacco. When I call him Sleepy Joe, don't think I'm being disrespectful, but I'm just calling a spade a spade. Joe Flacco is 40 plus years old, dog. We supposed to be worrying about Cleveland Browns, the future of the Cleveland Browns, not the past. Joe Flacco, what you did 2 years ago when Kevin Stefanski won Coach of the Year, that was immaculate. You leading them to the playoff game, but what happened when you had gotten that playoff game, when you had those expectations, Joe Flacco? You threw a couple picks and you fumbled a few times, Joe Flacco, in that playoff game because you had expectations, baby. So now, Joe Flacco, we got expectations for you when you hop on this field, baby, because you finna go against the Bengals in the first game of the season, the Ravens in the second game of the season, the Green Bay Packers in the third game of the season, the Detroit Lions in the fourth game of the season, the Minnesota Vikings in the fifth game of the season, and then the Pittsburgh Steelers in the sixth. I don't know. I'm getting off track with my numbers. You know, boys was never good at math. But seriously though, with Joe Flacco and him coming out with these first 1 to 6 games, I think that is a great thing. I think now in hindsight, like, all right, let me kind of come down to earth. I'm not mad anymore because the Cleveland Browns are actually doing what's right now. So now I'm going to take a step back. All my slander that I was going to come in and throw at Kevin Stefanski, at Jimmy Haslam, before they just did what's right, before they just traded Kenny Pickett to the Las Vegas Raiders for what number pick did they trade him for? Hold on, my bad, y'all. Let me see. So they traded. So Kenny Pickett was traded for a 2026 5th-round pick. They drafted Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round, and they just traded Kenny Pickett in the 5th round. Kenny Pickett was up there being a great teammate, boy. He had a hamstring injury. They kept on telling him, nah, it's okay. We're going to keep 4 quarterbacks. We're going to keep you in the wings. But then they heard the outcry. Then they heard the other NFL players. Then they heard Hall of Famers talking and saying and calling a spade a spade. So guess what? Cleveland, you didn't have no other choice. Cleveland, you had your own fans coming for your neck. So you didn't have no other choice but to do what's right. And everybody keep commenting. We gonna talk. And hey, Dylan Gabriel, we gonna touch on him in a second. And I appreciate you, Nate, saying that Dylan Gabriel, gonna come out on top. I appreciate that. We're gonna hit the comments at the end of this video. So if you want to stay until the end of this video, that's a great thing. But the Raiders, they should have traded for Shedeur Sanders. Yes, that is a fact. But guess what? The Cleveland Browns, they're not dumb. They're not stupid. They know what they got in Shedeur Sanders, dog. And this is proof. Because if they didn't believe in Shedeur Sanders, if they didn't see any potential in Shedeur Sanders, he would have been goddamn traded just like Kenny Pickett. Or they would have kept Kenny Pickett instead of Shedeur Sanders. But the best ability in the NFL is availability. And Kenny Pickett, you ain't playing since July. You ain't even playing that one preseason game. So we can't do nothing with you. And if they would have kept you, the writing would have been on the wall for the NFL. And hell would have been rained upon them. I promise you. It was a call put in to Jimmy Haslam and the GM and Kevin Stefanski. Y'all better trade that boy Kenny Pickett. They own what we doing. Yeah, we was coming. We was coming. All right. But anyway, making a long story short, my bad. I'm rambling now. But y'all see I'm spinning facts, though. Y'all see I'm spinning facts. At the end of the day, I have no hate against Joe Flacco. I have no hate against Dylan Gabriel. I just wanted a fair opportunity. Because what Kevin Stefanski did, he told us that this was a competition, and it wasn't a competition, dog. Shedeur Sanders never received the first team rep all year. Not all year. All summer. All preseason. Shedeur Sanders did not receive not one first team rep. Fact check me. Go look at the news articles that came out from every preseason game, every preseason practice, the joint practices. Shedeur Sanders never got a first team rep. Dylan Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, and Joe Flacco all got first team reps, all got second team reps. Shedeur Sanders only got second team reps when they tried to throw him to the Wolves the first preseason game, and he went out there and fucking balled because he's a gamer, because he's like that. If the Cleveland Browns didn't believe in Shedeur Sanders, if the Cleveland Browns didn't see potential in Shedeur Sanders, they just would have traded him just like they did Kenny Pickett. Right or wrong, y'all? Right or wrong? Come on, baby. Talk to me nice. You feel me? So at the end of the day, you got to understand, a blind man could see what they was talking about. A blind man could see what the Cleveland Browns was saying and doing. A blind man could see what was going on. You understand me, man? So you got to respect it, man. You got to respect the game. All right. So at the end of the day, going back to what I was saying, the depth chart going to go like this. Joe Flacco, he's going to start the season. Then when Joe Flacco ultimately gets hurt or he loses and goes 0 for 3, 0 for 4, because, bro, you finna go against the Cincinnati Bengals, who coming out for vengeance, who played their starters in the preseason. They've been off the slow starts all for the past 2-3 years. They've been wasting Joe Burrow's prime for a little bit now. So the Cincinnati Bengals, that's already a loss. The Baltimore Ravens, that's a loss. The Green Bay Packers, I'm not a real big Jordan Love fan, but the Green Bay Packers, they got a team now. With Jordan Love, they got a nice little defense over there. You know, man, the Green Bay Packers, I'm a Chicago Bears fan, and I got to admit, they got a little something brewing over there. You feel me? So I can't hate on the Green Bay Packers. So Joe Flacco potentially can go 0 for 3, 0 for 4. And then they got the Detroit Lions. That's another L. Then the Minnesota, like, Joe Flacco going to be in and be out. And it's a great thing that they're starting Joe Flacco. And I pray that he at least is healthy through like maybe the first 3-4 games, if I'm being honest. Like, I really do. Because if he's healthy through the first 3-4 games, then Dylan Gabriel will come after that because they want to see Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel, you got to understand, the reason why they've given Dylan Gabriel all these picks, the reason why they treated Shedeur Sanders the way they treated him, because Shedeur Sanders, you got to understand, he was still a 5th-round pick, whether we like it or not. You understand? He was still taken in the 5th round. So with Shedeur Sanders being taken in the 5th round, they treated him like a 5th-round draft pick, and it was evident. They really wanted Dylan Gabriel. So Dylan Gabriel, he is going to be the second quarterback on the depth chart. Shedeur Sanders will now be the third quarterback on the depth chart. But with this uphill battle, they got to play this is the last time I'm going to say it, y'all. Then we're going to be about to move on in a little bit. But you got to understand, the Cleveland Browns, they about to play the Bengals. They about to play the Baltimore Ravens, the Green Bay Packers, the Detroit Lions, the Minnesota Vikings, and then the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, my goodness. All those teams are probably going to make the playoffs this year. All those teams were very good last year. So it's an uphill battle. So I'm okay with Sleepy Joe going first and eventually getting brushed to the side. I'm okay with Dylan Gabriel getting his shot after that, because then we're going to see if you really about what you say you about. Because you've been looking good. But then again, Kevin Stefanski has scripted you a very great script in the preseason. But y'all got to understand this. The preseason is just like sunshine and rainbows. The preseason is just fluff. It's nothing really going on. No defense is really showing what they can do. They're not really throwing what they're going to do during the season, and no offense is throwing and doing what they're going to do during the season. It's a dress rehearsal. It's a glorified scrimmage during the preseason. That's what it is. So when the NFL season starts officially and it gets here, and now that the Cleveland Browns have done what was right, Shedeur Sanders going to sit there. It's like this. Going to be chilling. My bad. I almost fell, y'all. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, but Shedeur Sanders is about to be sitting back chilling. You feel me? Shedeur Sanders about to be living his best life. All right. And with Shedeur Sanders living his best life, sitting back, watching Joe Flacco get thrown to the Wolves, then watching Dylan Gabriel get thrown to the Wolves. So who you think gonna come in towards the end of the season and ball out? Poetic justice, baby. Watch what I tell you. So Shedeur Sanders, sit back, relax, and get your popcorn ready, baby. Because they saving you right now. And I appreciate that. Because Shedeur Sanders will be the future of the Cleveland Browns. Mark my words. And it's about to be evident. Unless Dylan Gabriel, hey, I'm not saying I don't want Dylan Gabriel to do well. I'm not wishing bad on Sleepy Joe. I'm not wishing bad on Dylan Gabriel. But they both going to have an uphill battle to climb. These goddamn balloons and shit. Pay no attention to that anytime that happens anyway. But seriously, though, it's about to be an uphill battle, man, for any of these starting quarterbacks. Dylan Gabriel, Joe Flacco, and Shedeur Sanders. Thank God that you number 3 on the depth chart. Thank God that the Cleveland Browns actually did what they were supposed to do. So, yeah, we're going to talk. We're going to talk.
Hey, we live now, really.